I've thought a lot about making videos about what I would say if and when I decided to actually follow through with my objective to gain subscribers or build a following. And the first thing I guess I want to say is that I was just told a moment ago about some news from a friend of mine, a very good friend, that there's some things going on in their world that is inexplicable, unexplainable, beyond words. For those of you that know me, you know that I'm a man of many words. I love words. I love the English language. I love the use of the words. Words, but I also love action. And just like with the hurricanes and the flooding and the thing in Charlottesville and everything, actually, there's a lot going on in our world that I don't understand. I thought that as I got older, I would understand more. But as I was explaining to someone yesterday, the older I get, the less I seem to understand. So I'm going to start a series where every day I'm going to talk about things that I don't understand. And maybe in your comments you could help me to understand some of the things that I don't. First off, how do you explain to someone that, how do you explain something that's serious? And when I say serious, I mean, how do you explain to a friend that they've offended you? How do you explain to a family member that they've wronged you? How do you recover from those things? How do you move forward? I hear a lot of pastors talking about forgiveness, and I hear a lot of people talking about forgiveness, and even the Bible. I don't want to take this away from the biblical basis that I think it should be, but those are words that we read, and even though I know the Spirit is real, the Bible that I read says that the Spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Surely we want to believe what we see and read. We want to believe those words, and we do, and we may be emotionally moved through the Spirit. But when you've been hurt beyond words, how do you get over that? How do you get beyond it? What do? Some people confront those things. Some people confess their sins to God, to other people, through confessions, like in a Catholic church, or through other means. But I'm just curious. So I was wondering what I was gonna do. So now I know. It's time. So what I do every day is I'll pose questions that I don't understand. And the first one I'm asking, how do you approach difficult situations? Do you reflect? Do you ponder, contemplate? Do you counsel? What do you do? I'm just curious. There's a lot of different things that go on with a lot of different people. And it's interesting, even with the whole black-white thing. I'm a black male. And I was talking to one of my neighbors, and I thought it was interesting. He's 32 years old. I'm 47. So when I was talking to one of my neighbors, it's a white guy. He's a nice guy. I just met him, my first time meeting him. And he was explaining to me that, his perspective on the Black Lives Movement was more or less the same as he saw the neo-Nazis or the white supremacists. And that blew me. And then I mean, for those of you that don't understand that colloquial term or slang, I love the English language. What I didn't understand was how. How do you make that association? The Black Lives Matter movement, from my understanding, especially being a black male, was in opposition or in defiance of those that wanted to remove the civil rights of others, or trample them, or refuse them, or oppose them, or suppress them. In other words, and from my understanding of Black Lives Matter, which is what I explained to him, I said, okay, maybe it's the wording that throws you off. I said, but what they were trying to say is Black Lives Matter too. That's what they were saying. We're not saying no one else matters. We're saying, hey, we matter too. So, and don't get me wrong, I don't know if he took that for what it's worth, or he still continued to hold on to his beliefs, because he seemed pretty passionate and or adamant. He said that he was a nationalist. Happened to be a white guy. I mean, he said, no, I don't identify with the white nationalist movement. I believe in my nation. And I respect that. I think we all are somewhat nationalists from the patriotic perspective, if that's what we want to say. But not to the point that we want to suppress, oppress, or even regress certain liberties or civil liberties acquired by people. Again, there's a lot of things I want to talk about. And I'm going to depend on you to help me. I'm passionate, I'm energetic, sometimes funny. I'm not too straight, that's not my world. I've been somewhat critical of Steve Harvey. And that was before he had his meeting with the President Trump. It's funny, it's the first time I actually said it, President Trump. But it was before then, because once when I worked with him on a movie set, he was less than pleasant. And of course others have told me that, okay, that was before his divorce and he's changed. I don't know. What I do know is that a lot of times, and I spoke to someone else I think more recently, and they were trying to explain this guy's position. They were saying, well, his views are blah, blah. It was yesterday. Another black guy was telling me, apparently, that he's fond of Steve Harvey. Not that I'm not fond of his. Let's say this. I applaud his accomplishments. But my perspective was he made everything into a joke. Everything's not funny. I didn't understand that. And my example for that is when people would ask him, especially after the book came out, Think Like a Man, Act Like a Woman, Think Like a Man, Act Like a Lady. When he first came out with that, people were then believing that he was somewhat of an authority on males and how we think. There are so many different types of men in the world. That's why there are wars, because there's different ideologies and different thought processes and different ways that people see and view things based on their experiences. I don't consider myself street because I've never lived in the ghetto. I don't condemn those that do. If that is unfortunately where you find yourself, we live in a world where society has more or less placed certain disadvantages to certain people. So everyone in certain situations or circumstances, I can assure you, I don't know anyone, even the people that live there, they're by choice. If they had a better opportunity to live in a place where they didn't jack up the gas prices or the food prices or the insurance was higher or the crime rate was higher, I'm sure those that live in those situations wouldn't choose to live there. But if you only have certain means, you do what you do, or you do what you can until you're able to do better. Guys, I don't know what to even call this segment or show or whatever it is. I do know I got a lot to say, and I didn't know where to start. But I do now. So I'm starting with, again, just to reiterate my first question. How do you convey serious topics, either offenses or matters of life and death? How do you convey that to a person that you love, that you're sick, terminally ill? I'm talking about from AIDS to cancer to anything that's serious. Or let's say you killed someone. I've never done that, but I'm sure, in my opinion, I believe that some of these people that have done certain things they have a conscience, because in all of us there's a Spirit of God. Whether we acknowledge it or not, there's a spirit within us that says we've been granted and blessed with the knowledge of good and evil. Good and bad is, I think that's relative, and or, it's interesting. A person brought up to me the other day, not too long ago, back when a lot of the Jim Crow laws were in place, our government backed or reinforced a lot of those ideologies. That was the law of the land at the time. So they were doing what they thought was right based on the time frame. So I have so many questions that I'm going to pose. I'm going to ask you guys. I'm Terrance Carson. Don't know what to call this. Maybe that's what I'll call it. I don't know what to call this. I'm Terrance Carson. Thank you for watching.